Yeah, man, I be jamming y'all to see LJ when that's. Podcast in the land, and I say that because what we're doing is we're taking the power and putting it back into the hands of the people to whom it belongs, and those people are you. You're so much powerful, you're so much better than you believe. And so here at the Help Myself podcast, I like to interview guests who inspire me, who have accomplished amazing things, who have overcome incredible odds with inspirational resiliency stories. And we like to share tips, tactics, and techniques so that you can live your best life personally, professionally, or however you choose. So thank you for tuning in. I am super excited, as I always am, but that's real, people. I'm excited to have our guest on today. Man, we go way, way, way back. I go way back with him because he's somebody that I've kind of looked up to since grade school years, somebody that came up in the neighborhood, and it was always something different. And we'll get into that more in the interview. But ladies and gentlemen, today I'm excited to have our guest, none other than Derrick Wilson, the CEO of Powerfactor Business and Entertainment Group. My brother, how you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate the love, man. I'm amazing. I can't complain. Aside from my little old man injury, I'm good, man. I can't complain. I'm blessed.
Nah, man, that ain't an old man injury. That's you in there lifting them big weights and all that stuff, man.
Yeah, it was. It's a workout injury. It definitely is that. And funny thing about the injury is that it really actually wasn't actually on a heavy day. It was actually on a light day. I was only lifting 25-pound dumbbells, and but it's light weights, heavy reps, and I got to some of my last reps, man, and I heard it rupture, man. So, it could happen in any situation, man. So yeah, it was an odd situation, but par for the course,
Say, yeah, you were so calm about it. You called me and you was like, yeah, I had surgery, ruptured. I'm like, what?
Yeah, right. No, and what it is, man, is I try to play mind games with myself to try to say to myself that, the injury is far less than what it really is. But truthfully, man, the day I had surgery on Tuesday night was a rough night. Wednesday night was a rough night. And I'm really trying to just get into some type of normalcy. Just, you don't really realize how much you need your both your arms, so it's like, man. So it's like, yeah.
Real. Yeah. No, you were talking to me and you were a little loopy when we were talking. And I was like, oh, man, but he's still on it. He's still sharp, man.
Yeah.
So no, I'm glad that even in the midst of that, you're willing to come on to the show. We're just excited to have you on here, man. I did my little intro, but I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are. So.
Yeah, man, it's just pretty decently simple in my mind and my heart. Is just Derrick Wilson, CEO, founder of Powerfactor Entertainment, company we started 10 years ago this year, actually, and we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. I'm really proud of that. Something that we've done to try to benefit the community and try and enhance the event and entertainment quality in the city of San Antonio, surrounding areas, and throughout the world. We've expanded throughout the entire United States, and now we're abroad too. I have some really, really amazing things that have kind of happened within the last couple of weeks and last couple of months, so I'm really excited about that. But aside from that, man, I'm just a humble servant, man. That's what I am ultimately.
Man, I'm telling you, and I was kind of salty because y'all got the Lions Den all started up.
Yeah.
Right after I left. I
know you left town right after, man.
Yeah, I left town, and then I'm out in Vegas, and then all of a sudden I started seeing people talking about, yeah, man, we going this, that, and I'm like, man, I got to get down there for one of them, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make something. Don't get me wrong, man. COVID messed me up a little bit.
No, I hear you, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna make something. I'm gonna get down there and support, man. But
Yeah.
so that was your introduction, there, man. I think that's spot on. I don't know if everybody caught that when you were talking about your mindset, and um, because I think that's applicable across life. Is like, when things happen, how do you see them and how do you perceive them? So you say, I'm playing this little mind game. Oh, it ain't that much, so that you can continue moving forward instead of being stuck, feeling sorry for yourself. And that just goes into the law of polarity. Everything has a positive and negative side. It's just what side do we choose to see and press forward on it, man. So, man, I love that. I hope the people caught that, man, because that was deep, man. You said it just so
Yeah.
casually, but that was deep, man.
Yeah, but it's a state of mind. It really is a state of being, really, truthfully. I try to approach every situation with a glass half full thought process, just so you can understand the practicality and all of it, right? Because, there's always a worse situation. I have a ruptured bicep. There's somebody that doesn't have an arm, so when you understand what ultimately the bigger picture looks like, you understand that your problem that is a temporary issue shouldn't become a permanent mindset. So it's just kind of a thought process,
That's facts. That's facts. That's facts. So I got into it a little bit, but let me tell y'all about so man, coming up, man, I knew Derrick back in middle school and high school, and we come from the same neighborhood, same east side of San Antonio and everything. But to me, and he's so humble about it, but to me, this brother always stood out. Like it was just, he was positive. Well, in high school, I used to be checked out because the brother could dress, and I was like, man, one day.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the brother could dress, man. And me, I'm wearing Dickies, and I'm like, nah, I don't be more like that.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So yeah, man.
They still say I can do a little something on the dressing part still nowadays too, even in my ripe old age. But I appreciate that compliment.
We had a thread going on. Somebody posted some dude, and he was to the nines, and a bunch of us said, "Man, that looked like Derrick."
Hey, I'll take it, bro. I'll take it.
Yeah. No, man. You know what I'm saying? Just that. But just always a positive brother, man, and just doing big things. So watching what you're doing now, like it was just like the natural evolution to me. I'm like, that's Derrick Wilson. Of course he gonna do this stuff. And I tell you what, I think sometimes, and I don't want to get into this too much because I've been gone a while, but I think sometimes the mentality in San Antonio is, oh, well, it ain't nothing to do, and saying we don't have this, that, and the other. And what I was really loving is sometimes you got to focus on who you're following and whose voices you're hearing. But I love to see the collective of folks. And, I'm going to be honest, it feels like you really led the charge on this, is saying, why don't we just start making the stuff that we say ain't here? You know what I mean? Why don't we create these opportunities, these events, and this, instead of complaining, let's make it better. And when I tell you,
but and if you don't mind, if I chime in on that, because and that it really was. So I had an opportunity, and I say he's actually my brother. Me and him have the same father. He's my blood brother. But everybody always thinks we're just friends, but we are very, very close friends as well as being brothers, right? So a lot of times, you can have a sibling that's not your friend, right? Because sometimes we don't hang out with our siblings, right?
Right.
But my brother, Quincy Sterling, you probably know Quincy. Quincy is my brother. So Quincy and I, we used to literally, man, every single year, we would travel to different cities, just get different experiences outside of what our normal environment was. Quincy actually never lived in San Antonio after he left high school. He went to Houston, went to Dallas, Cincinnati. He was all over the place. And I would go visit him, and then we go to these different places. The point I'm making is what I learned in those environments was being in just these different spaces that didn't look like home, right? I wanted to try to take a piece of each one of those places and bring it home and make it feel like home, in a sense, because it just always felt like people were saying things like, there's nothing to do, so on and so forth. So it really came from a need, almost a sense of desperation, in a sense, to get the city charged up in a sense that looked like, we can do everything these other cities do if we have to set the bar though. And my mission has always been to set the bar. That's really what it's been about, so. And, I just took, pieces from every single place that we would go and just really try to implement them into home, and make it something that felt very much so like home. So, but yeah, that's kind of what the thought process came from. It was just like, man, I'm tired of people saying that. And the biggest thing about it was, it's funny because I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and they told me that I was the most introverted, extroverted, ideal person they'd ever met, right? Because I don't really have a whole lot of people outside of my normal circle, which is like my wife and, my brother and, and those type of people. I don't really have a lot of people outside of that circle. But the way that it looks like I have this huge entourage around me and people are constantly around me. That's really not the situation. I'm really more so of an introvert. A lot of even me doing events came from the need of me wanting to be in an environment that felt comfortable for me. I didn't really never necessarily feel comfortable in these different environments because, again, like you said, I'm from the East Terrace, I'm from the East Side, I'm from a place that, I was surrounded around violence a lot, right? So I always knew to keep my head on a swivel all the time, and creating that thought process made for an uncomfortable experience. And what I wanted to do is create comfortable experiences for everybody, including myself. And the one thing that I pride myself in, 10 years running, not one fight, not one situation, not one altercation. There hasn't been one single thing in no events that we've ever done, not a concert, not a day party, not a business event, not a fashion show, nothing that we've done. There's never been anything there. And it's because of specific target marketing that we've done, so, and I don't mean to stay on that too long or whatever the case, but I just wanted to piggyback off that though.
Nah, bro, this is your show. We spotlighting you here, man. That's what you know what? Yeah, we got to talk offline, man, because I don't think that you hear yourself when you're dropping these fundamental foundational principles of how you build something lasting and successful. Like your basic was, this is what I'm looking for. And I imagine other people want a safe space to socialize, to be entertained, to, come out and be dressed and be grown and sexy, all of this other stuff, And you said, this is what I want, so let me create it. And what Field of Dreams, build it and they'll come.
They'll come, exactly. And that's the thing. And it's funny because I'm still very humbled by the thought process that you said something. And I've actually heard this on several occasions that I've led the charge in the city, over the course of time. I also had a guy tell me the other day, we would just have a random conversation, right? And I was telling him about some of the issues that I deal with in the local market right now. Just for the viewers, so they'll know, or the people that are tuning in. We do live music events very consistently. That's one of our mainstays and one of our things that we do on a consistent basis. We do the Lions Den every third Sunday of the month. And what I was explaining to them is that San Antonio is going through a live music renaissance right now. Yes. There is live music all over the city right now. And what I explained to him is that I'm not going to stop doing the Lions Den. I do have to change the thought process behind the Lions Den. I have to pivot. And I've had to pivot the entire 10 years that we've been in business. But, and he was like, why do you feel like you have to pivot? I said, because I'm now competing with free live music and I can't do events for free. I don't have the luxury of doing that. And again, respectfully, I don't own a venue myself. I don't own alcohol rights to most of these. See, that's the way most people make their money in those senses. When they have ownership, they basically can do whatever they want to do. I don't have a brick and mortar, so it's very hard for me to compete on that level. So I'm going to stay the course, right? Stay the course. And this guy said to me this, the point I'm making with that conversation is he said to me this. He said, it's funny, man. I hear you talk about local things, but you're an international man. He said, this is not your concern. He said, you've done your job in the city. You've led the charge. The reason the city looks the way that it looks right now, the reason what you're dealing with right now is you created this environment.
Yeah.
Now it's time for you to move on. You've done your due diligence here. You've done your work here. Now God is pushing you towards something else. And that something else is international. It's bigger than what you can imagine. So get your mind out of this local market and take it internationally like God wants you to. So for me, that was like, man, I was like, wow. And a lot of times, from a leadership perspective, you get people around you, knowing how good leadership works, you constantly have to learn and change and be willing to listen and learn from people that don't even think that they're showing you something or teaching you something. And in this moment, he was pouring into me on a level that I couldn't even understand at the time. So when I got home that night, I was like, man, I would talk to my wife about it, and she was like, I've been telling you that. So she was like, no, just said it different, Yeah. So, yeah.
So, man, oh man, this interview is already going great. Listen, man, so real talk. I left in late 2010, early 2011. There was nothing like that happening. And when you talk about led the charge, and obviously, we all want you to be proud. That's why we give you your flowers and we celebrate you. We want you to be proud of what you did, because there was nothing on the horizon like that. And to watch now, there's a renaissance, and you can point directly to the source of the renaissance. But it's kind of like what God had to do with you, man, and what he's doing with you is he's giving you those skills so that you can, it's like Karate Kid, wax on, wax off.
Yeah.
You never teaching him how to do that so he'd be good at waxing cars.
Right.
He needed to have those techniques.
Dang, that's good stuff. That's good stuff right there.
Ready to fight the big fight. So what you're doing now is to give you the techniques to. You talked about it, man. You said God is hearing your prayers. The prayers and the words that come out of your mouth will be manifested. And that's the thing. You got to learn how to do it at this level so you have the skill set. So when it's time to do it nationally and globally, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the good thing about that is, and I don't mean to keep interrupting you because I don't want to throw you off course.
Yeah, this your show, bro. You ain't interrupting me.
But the good thing about that is that, I've been able to, this thing that I really just thought was a thing in the beginning. I knew it was going to be a business. I just didn't know that it was going to be a passion. It is really no longer, my company is Powerfactor Business Entertainment Group, but truthfully, this is a passion that I have that's in me, that's bred in me, right? It's something that I like, like in high school. And I used to always think that, if I could be around sports, I was being around something that I loved, right?
Yeah.
But eventually, your life transitions, you evolve into whatever it is that you are supposed to be, right? Sometimes, you'll think that this is what because a lot of times people think that, when you deal with something and you don't necessarily be successful at it, so to speak, right? Because success is subjective, but when you don't get where you want to get with a certain thing, it feels like failure. So in my mind, I failed a lot of times, right? A lot of times until I realized that God was really just positioning me for the right purpose, where I was supposed to be, and all these different things that I acquired along the way. And I'll tell you this story that this one lady said to me one time, and I knew that I was walking in my purpose at that moment. And it was at a Lions Den event. I'll keep her name out of it just for the sake of keeping her name off of it, right? Okay. But anyway, so I get to a Lions Den, the show happens, and Nisha Cortez was the artist that night. She was phenomenal. She's actually Zacardi Cortez's sister. She was phenomenal that night. She literally tore the roof down. And a lot of times when you're dealing with things from a circular perspective, that you're not really actually doing God's work, right? And see, I beg to differ, completely different, right? So this is how I knew in that moment that I was doing something that was godly, This girl comes to me and she says to me, I want to say something to you, but I don't know how to say it to you. And I was like, just give it to me the way you got it in your head, give it to me the way you got it in your heart. And she said, thank you. And I was like, Okay, for what? She said, for putting things together of this nature. And I was like, okay. I said, okay, cool, but this can't be that. And she said, no, it's not that. She said, let me explain something to you. And she said this, and she could hardly get it out. She said, today before I came over here, she said, I'm going through a divorce right now. Me and my husband are going through a divorce. And this weekend was my husband's weekend for him to have the kids. It was the first weekend I had been alone. She said, I'm a nurse. And she said, when I got off shift, I said to myself that I was probably going to commit suicide.
Wow.
And she said, I said to myself, I had not been to the Lion's Den yet. I at least wanted to experience it before I passed. And she said, I came here today with the intentions to leave here and commit suicide. And she said, but when I heard Nisha Cortez tell her story, what I knew for a fact is that we all are going through it. And we're all in this together. And what you're doing is pouring into these people like you have no idea. She said, you just saved my life. And what I knew at that moment is that it was like, man, this is so much bigger than me. This had nothing to do with me and everything to do with the people, because I just love the music aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
But the music is therapy even for me. So it had to have been therapy for them. And she said it to me that day. And I was like, I was shook by it first and foremost because of the severity of the situation, first and foremost. And then secondly, how much, that felt like a lot of responsibility, like you saved my life. But, in her mind, that's how heavy it was, So a lot of times people don't understand the cost of entertainment, like sometimes, it's you could take us away from our regular world. A lot of us deal with a whole bunch of turmoil on a consistent basis. And sometimes we just want to be taken away from that. And my mission is always to be able to pour into people in a space that looks like peace. That's what I want.
Man, that I ain't see that coming, bro. I did not see that coming. And here's the thing, man, like just watching you, you so humble, man. So I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you to get arrogant. We don't want that. No. But I don't ever want you to doubt yourself either. I want you to have a healthy, godly. Look at that. I'm talking to you. You my OG. You know what I'm saying? I know I got all this gray in my beard, and yours looks all luxurious. But But man, it's just like so.
My son just got here. I was telling him I'm on a podcast. Go ahead.
This is a family affair, man. My son be all up on me every time.
Yeah.
Nah, but just thinking about your circle of people, man. When you start surrounding yourself, like whether it be your brother, your friends, the musicians, and everybody had a vision and they wanted to go further. And it was, hey, can we? And it was just a matter of somebody pushing and breaking through whatever wall or whatever was once somebody broke through, everybody was going to come through. And that's why people are impacted, man, because you took the time to break through that wall, man. And people, tell you, son, I said, what's up?
No, that was my wife passing by right there.
Oh, okay.
She passed by waving like she ain't seen me in a week or something. She just saw me a few minutes ago. Go ahead.
That's love, man. Don't front on it, man. That's what I want for my life too. So, we believe in God. We believe in God.
Come in, baby. Just go ahead and come in, babe, because you interrupted the podcast. He just went to the garage, baby. That's all he did. Just tell him to hold on a second, though, please. I'm sorry, sir. Man.
No, man, I'm keeping that in there. That's gonna be gold right there. I'm gonna use that as the tease right there. Yeah. When your wife comes in during the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, and she was like, "I need answers right now."
Okay, she needs answers right now. So right now is the time. Yeah. So like I'm curious, and more so not just from a structural aspect, but the idea to just get into this lane, like where did that come? Were you doing this before or?
Never. And it's funny. I'm glad you went back to that because I wanted to go back to something that you said. You said, this is Derrick. Like this just seems like it could have been his lane. Ironically enough, man, like in high school, and I tell people this all the time, and people be bugging out when I say this, but high school was the worst years of my life.
Really?
They were the worst years of my life. I hated high school. I hated it. And it's so weird because, like I see people, what was the greatest time of my life as a child, as an adolescent? It was middle school.
Okay.
I had a lady that I feel like she changed my world. And it was Mrs. Mulkey, my 8th grade algebra teacher at Poe. She changed my life. I'll tell you that story later another time. But high school was such a weird time for me because I went through so much, and my senior year in high school, man, I was homeless, bro.
What?
Like, I was homeless, man. I don't know if you remember like Marcus Spence and Mark Rogers.
Yeah.
And I lived like from house to house with them. Like I slept on Martin Luther King's in the park. I slept in a bench out there. I swear, bro, I promise you, man. A lot of people don't believe that story when I tell them, man. But because if you remember, because again, you're from East Side, so you already know. But this was during the time where they was kind of like starting to get rid of the East Terrace and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So like my grandmother got kicked out of the East Terrace. And then, so she went to this little bitty small house, and man, we were disposable. You know what I'm saying? We weren't her kids. You know what I'm saying? My mother was in prison at the time. My father was in California, where I'm originally from. My father was in California at the time. And like at the end of the day, you like 17 years old. And they was like, you just basically on your own type of thing, So it was like every now and then they would let me sleep there from time to time. But it was crazy. And my 11th grade year was rough. It was all rough years for me. But I say that with the understanding that it still shaped me in a sense of like survival. You know what I'm saying? So I had to grow up really fast.
Yes.
And when you get in those type of circumstances, your thought process changes in a sense. You go into straight survival mode. And by any means necessary is the thought process, Yeah. And every day, what I learned to do is reinvent myself. You said I used to dress well, right? Man, I was changing clothes in and out. I would wear the same pants, different shirt, same pants, different shoe, like so on and so forth. I would do stuff, bro. It was so crazy, man. I learned how to navigate through my misfortunes in a sense. The point I'm making is that same thought process I pour into my business even right now, because even when things look amazing the way that they are, truth be told, man, sometimes we're surviving on pennies. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And that's just me being completely transparent, because it's not like we're out here making this, all this money and, and I'm buying $1 million houses on it. Yes. Does it put food in my mouth? Yes, it does. Does it does it do certain things for me? Absolutely. Has it afforded me some great opportunities? Absolutely. But man, there's times where we saw negatives in our business account. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. And the point I'm making is that I learned in that space how to survive through the process, right? And I'm not trying to look like anything. I just wanted to present myself in a way that says that I'm still honored in this moment. Like, no matter the situation, I'm honored to even have a chance to keep pushing, to keep going. That's really what the mentality had to be, So that was kind of when, the glass half full thought process came from, trying to figure it out, So, but it was one of the worst times of my life, man. It really was, Yeah.
It's not that I don't believe, because here's the crazy part, man. It's like when you go through stuff like that, you get this idea that you're just the only one and you're embarrassed. Like, man, I remember when my mom was in prison earlier, like my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade years. She was in prison. Right. And I remember going to school wearing these old raggedy jeans, and I had these ponies, and when it rained, I could feel the water on the bottom. I used to be so embarrassed about that, man, and thinking you're the only one. And then, you said, I'm talking to somebody I looked up to, and I'm talking about how clean you were, and then you're going to tell me you was homeless?
Bro, I'm telling you, man, we was out there. I was out there, bro. Like, seriously, man, it was really, really, really bad, man. Like, and I still think about it right now, and I think to myself, it's funny, at a time I used to get, and again, man, I'm completely transparent in my thought process right now, because my mission is not to be popular in my thinking, it's to be impactful in my actions. That's really my thought process, right? So any question you ask me, I'm going to answer it transparently and openly, because My mission is not to be to withhold any information, is to be able to give you whatever it is, to be able to for anybody to grow, whoever. So my daughter's coming now. But yeah, man, it's just,
Popular man.
but so, but during these times, like what I had to learn was more than anything is that, man, it's like you can figure it out. You got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. But the thing that I started being resentful towards my mother and my father during those times is because, it was like I had nobody. Nobody. It was like nobody, and it's like you develop this bitterness in a sense that feels angry, and you carry it over into even once I became a parent, I carried it into that and it manifested into something that ultimately transitions your parenting too, right? Because, what you didn't get, you give your children in abundance, right?
Right. Yeah.
And ultimately, it's not a really good balance. It creates an imbalance, so to speak, because then you spoil them. You don't teach them the thought process of actually work ethic and so on and so forth. So what people don't realize is that all these traumas create so many different levels of chain reaction trauma. And it's like, man, we really don't understand the magnitude of how important it is to just be impactful in a good way. So I don't know, man. It's a lot that's a lot to unpack. I know, but still,
You need to write a book, man.
yeah, I've gotten that too a lot of times before too.
No,
So
for real, man. We have these amazing stories, especially as Black men. We have these
right,
amazing stories, and we take them to our grave with us. And man,
right,
that could be this generation's Think and Grow Rich, man. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? The
But you're
Derrick
right though, and
Wilson story.
it's really not fair for us to take that information to the grave with us. It's really not. You're right. I agree.
It's
Yeah.
not. It's not. Yeah, man. The funny thing is that the whole time you've been like one step ahead of the questions I
Oh,
normally
is that right?
ask,
I'm
which is
sorry, man.
perfect. No, that's just the flow of it, man. I'm like, yo, man, that's what I'm talking about right there. So
Yeah.
no, man. So yeah, one of the things I normally ask is, resiliency story. You dropped us with 2 or 3 just now, man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. But I mean, I got plenty more, man, if you want to keep going, because I got plenty more.
come on, give it to us, man.
Well, because so a lot of what, again, even in that, right? So just kind of going through that stage of your life where you're kind of developing, right? You create this sense of resilience. Like, I got to figure it out. I have to figure it out. That said, that mentality, taking it into because I became a parent at a very young age. My oldest daughter is 31 years old. I'm 48. I was 17.
Yeah.
But here's the triumph in that, right? My mission was to try to make sure that she had the best that she could possibly have. And I worked whatever I had to work, did whatever I had to do. I delivered pizza. I worked at Wendy's. I did everything I could possibly do to try to make sure that I could just at least make sure that I showed up for them, right? That same child is a physician right now. She's a doctor,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I take real pride in that portion of my life. I have really close relationships with my children. I'm not saying that I have perfect relationships with them, but a lot of what I learned in that process of being bitter and angry carried over into my parenting, which made me not the greatest parent, full transparency, right? Because you want for them so much what you didn't have. It makes you like almost overzealous and you become overprotective and over this and over that. You pour too much into them. So the balance in all of that is finding a space in the middle, which happens typically far later, when they've already acquired some level of trauma from you somehow, some kind of way.
Right. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's tough, man. But anyway, yeah, man, that's all I got for right there.
No, it's tough, but I think the challenge isn't that we be perfect parents because my dad, one of the things I always talk about is my man was around, but he just chose not to be there for me. Like his people live walking distance from where I was living, and They
Sure.
lived for the time, they lived a middle class life. You know how the East Side was, certain
Yeah,
areas. And
absolutely.
we were over there, in the midst of real struggle, like,
Mhm.
being passed around. And, like my man just chose that. And I was angry, and it was showing up in the way I fathered. Like I was mad at him, and I had to heal or forgive and say, look, the path for me is not to just try not to be, because that's a super low bar. He said, I ain't got
Yeah.
to be better. I need to be the father that I need to be. And it's a
Yeah.
growing experience. And I think the beautiful thing isn't that you were perfect. It was that you were transparent, and now you have transparent relationships with your.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. Let's see, where were we? We were talking about kids.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a task right there, kids.
Man, I want to talk about I'm talking about how much of an inspiration you are to a lot of us, myself definitely included. But what are some of your inspirations, and not just in the past, but even going forward?
Um, I can actually say my biggest inspiration to date is my aunt. I don't have a lot of, celebrity, so to speak,
Yeah,
inspirations.
yeah.
But my biggest inspiration is my aunt Rhoda. She was, when she became a part of my life, I was already, like 13, 14 years old. She lived in Corpus Christi, Texas, because she
Okay.
worked for the Corpus Christi Independent School District at the time, and she would drive back and forth. Um, she had a house here in San Antonio too, so she was like, in my mind, like you say, like that
Oh,
middle class. She was balling. And so I just kind of watched the way she moved. She had a fourth grade education, and she knew how to manage money. She knew how to have a bank account. She had a great job. She lived this amazing life in my mind, right?
mm-hmm.
In retrospect, when you go back and look at it, it was very mediocre when it comes to it. But the standards were so low at that time that, all you seen was this. And in your mind, it was like, man, they got food to eat every day. I didn't have that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
But, she told me something one time. She did it. There was a couple of different things that I did to her at the time when she taught me these lessons, right? And there's one time she just taught me about trust and loyalty and so on and so forth, right? I stole something from her one time. She used to have this jar. You know how older people used to keep these jars full of change and dollars and so on and so forth. I'll never forget
I
it,
still
John.
do that.
Yeah, see, we old, bro. Like seriously, I do mine in a drawer though. That's all it is. I do mine in the drawer. Uh, but she had this jar, and she put money in it. And I wanted to go to a New Edition concert. I'll never forget it.
Dang.
At Joy and Harry Freeman Coliseum, when New Edition was really New Edition, when it
Yeah.
was like, when they was the kids in the 80s, right? So anyway, I stole that jar, right? Took that jar, and then I didn't even get what I was supposed to get or whatever case. I ended up bringing the jar back, right? Well, anyway, the next day, I went to her house, knocked on the door, boom, 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 boom. And normally, the way that normally would work is she would have the screen door open, and anybody could just walk in. That day, she had the screen door locked, right? Knocked on the door, right? And she said, finally came to the door after about 10 minutes of me knocking on the door, and she said, "How can I help you?" Right? And then I
Yeah.
said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Let me in." She was like, "I'll let you in when you respect me." Right? And what I learned in that moment was, and she wouldn't let me in. She let me leave, and she didn't talk to me for about 2 weeks. Right? She
Okay.
said, "I'll let you in when you respect me." Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the moment, what I learned is that what she wanted from me more than anything was for me to call her and say I apologize. And what I learned from it. So by the time I went back over there. She opened the door. She talked to me. She said, "Do you think you respect me?" And I'm like, and I was so trying to understand why she kept using this word respect, 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 right? And then I learned that she said, "You got to understand that you can't tell me that you love me if you don't respect me, because respect is the foundation of love. If you
Mm.
don't respect me, you don't love me." She said, "Because if you respected me, you would have known that if you would have just asked, I would have gave it to you. You don't respect me." And she said, "And if you don't ever respect me, there's no way you're ever going to respect yourself. So the mission in this situation is for me to make sure that you respect yourself first, because a thief ain't a respectable man,
Dang.
period. She says, so when you respect me and you honor me, and then I'll let you back in. And then made me leave again. And then like made me think about that, yo, like seriously, and I thought about it, never stole anything from her again. She never had any other problems out of me again, et cetera, et cetera. And then she gave me this quote one time. She told me, she said, and I use this to the day. She says, anybody can live a life. She said, but everybody can't leave a legacy. She said, God has assigned you to leave a legacy.
Write that down, man.
I'm telling you. She said, anybody can live a life. Everybody can't leave a legacy. She said, God has assigned you to leave a legacy. Your responsibility is to break the generational curses that has plagued this family for generations. And she said, that's a heavy responsibility. She said, and I don't know why God gave it to you, but it's on you. Trust me. And from that moment on, my life had a different level of trajectory. It was like she crowned me in that moment.
Yeah.
Like it's on you. And I've taken it very seriously, I really have.
Man, that's some Furious Styles level knowledge that she dropped on you, man.
Yeah.
She taught that lesson, man. Yo, that's dope. Dope. That is dope, man.
So yeah, she's my biggest inspiration, man. Absolutely, without question.
After that, you don't need nobody else.
I know, right? She was wise, man. She was so wise. Yeah.
No, man, she just learned me some things here secondhand. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. She told me she used to tell me all the time, only fools get bored.
It's a fact.
She's like, because there's always something to do.
Always something to do, something to learn.
Something to learn, exactly.
Enhance yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Only fools get bored. Yep. That was her quote, man. And I was like, we're bored because we was little kids. Only fools get bored.
Man.
We're bored. Go read something. It's the way she was, So she was my man. She was my best friend, man. She really was, So yeah.
Oh, man.
But anyway, yeah, man.
That's awesome. Listen, look, I know your time is precious, but before we let you go, man, I want to see, man, what's the future of Powerfactor? Anything you want to announce, man, and leave us with some closing thoughts, brother?
So, the first thing I want to tell y'all about how humbled I am even to be a part of something like this, man. I don't take these moments for granted. I really appreciate the fact that you can create a platform like this for me to even have some level of voice. So I appreciate you first and foremost. But then I want to tell you about some things that we have on the horizon, things that we've accomplished over the course of time as far as Powerfactor is concerned. So as I was saying, like when I told you that guy, his name was Lawrence, actually, that told me, he was like, man, you're thinking local and you're international, right? So recently, I don't know if you've seen, I posted a lot of it on my social media, but I now, since 2021, I now manage an artist. His name is George Lovett. And I've had the pleasure of being able to go all over this country. And then recently we went to Greece, we went to Spain, we went to Italy, we went to all these different places. And recently I just inked a deal to do a commercial deal with George Lovett for one of his singles. The single is called The Ruby. That song they're going to use in a commercial in China. And so the Powerfactor name, that name itself comes from the east side of San Antonio, is all the way in China right now. Yeah. So I take real pride in knowing that my aunt said, a friend of mine said to me at some point, your name will be spoken in rooms that you will not believe. So for me in my mind for people to be even saying the name that I chromed, Powerfactor Entertainment, all the way in China is just mind blowing to me. We have a couple of different shows that we're getting ready to do a show in Chicago, a show in New York. We'll be reopening the Apollo October 7th. My client will be reopening the Apollo. And it's actually going to say on the Apollo sign, Powerfactor Entertainment presents George Lovett at the Apollo.
October 7th. Okay.
October 7th.
That's about a 3.5, 4-hour drive from here. So.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. You should come, man. If you come, I got you. I'll make sure you get in. I got you, brother. True story.
But it's so
And,
much love, I will happily pay for a ticket.
Yeah, come on, man. But also, obviously we got the Lions Den every third Sunday of the month. We have that coming. We have a day party coming, the 10-year anniversary of the Daycation. We have that coming on September 4th. And we have another event because there's a market in the city of San Antonio that I feel like we have yet to explore yet. We're going to start an event called Rhythm and Brunch. Based around R&B music, based around brunch. And our mission is to be able to make people understand how important R&B music is, how dope it really is, and actually, provide a eating kind of party-like, have a good time, upscale, urban environment at the same time. So yeah, we got a lot of little things coming on, man.
Man, listen, that's what I'm talking about. That is
working, man.
What I'm talking about. And man, listen, at all of your events and stuff, all up and down my timeline, I used to think that the Omega All White Party was the big deal. But every time you throw an event, all the folks on my timeline be like, "This is my fit for this." And I'm like, "That's what I'm talking about."
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. But I told the people, because we have a white party coming up on the 4th, and I told people, like, just bring it, because the Omegas, they just had their white party. And I was like, man, look, y'all just take y'all's white outfit from that party and bring it to the Daycation all white party. And we family, man. We ain't going to be tripping, man. Ain't no tripping, man. We going to be good.
Ain't no tripping. Hey, bro, man, so the future is, we doing what we can, man, but I'm inspired, man. I definitely want to increase the platform. So, man, with your permission, I definitely want to get you back and we do like a live in person, when you got 2 arms instead of 1. But,
yeah, no doubt.
Get the production, I'm with it, man. Yeah, man, definitely want to have you back because I know you got a lot more to share, man. And we need to, I know you ain't got time to do your own, but we need to get you real comfortable in this podcast space because you got a lot to say, man. Really enjoyed this, man.
I appreciate it, man. And anytime you're willing to have me, man, I'm and I can make the space, man. Trust me, man. It's an honor to make the space. So you just let me know, man, and I'm back.
I'm gonna get like that one podcast. I'm gonna be able to send plane tickets and put you up and all that.
And you know what's funny is that they called me again today because they flew me out to Houston. I did the show. They flew me and my wife and my stepdaughter out there too, and I put us in a hotel, and we did the show. She called me today because I was thinking the show had aired already, right?
Yeah.
Told me no, it has not aired. What they're doing is, she said, we're lining up 5 different shows. She said because they wanted to do. I know you don't care about this, but
no, I don't.
She said they wanted to do the men first, then they wanted to do the women first. I mean, again, and then they wanted to do the men and the women together, and then they wanted to do the therapist that could help every one of these people in the process. They want to drop them every single week after they drop the first show. So, because if they don't drop this, she said if they drop one right now, they have to try to rush and get everybody again together. Right. And do, so on. She said she didn't want to do that. So anyway, the point is she wants to fly me back out September 10th to do the second half of that show, which will be the men and the women together, the effects of sexual molestation in the Black community, so on and so forth. Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be a good show.
Man, no, that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm recording them back so that I can drop them all week after week. So yeah. So yeah, no, that's information I needed, man. That's what I'm talking about.
But yeah, man. But anytime you want me, man, trust me, man, I'm available, man. And I apologize if I was a little bit.
We ain't doing all this apologizing. You came over here and blessed us, and man, I'm inspired. I'm gonna go out and love on my son today. His birthday is Monday, so I'm.
Is that right?
Make sure we do a bunch of fun stuff this weekend, man, and take a lot of pictures and stuff. Y'all gonna get sick of me.
For sure.
Yeah, right, man. But no, appreciate you, man. And I'm gonna close like I always do. Listen, I can't help myself. I've got to inspire, I've got to encourage, I've got to empower. But I can't help myself by being the absolute best version of myself. You can too. So why not we do it together? And with that, the Help Myself podcast is out.